After sitting out Daredevil, Born Again Season 2, Jon Bernthal's Frank Castle is back with a vengeance in The Punisher, One Last Kill. Now streaming on Disney+, One Last Kill is everything I've ever wanted from a Punisher revival, the raid-level intensity in the fight scenes, and Oscar-caliber depth in the dramatic scenes, a probing character study of a deeply broken, traumatized human being, and an action-packed thrill ride with non-stop bloodshed. The Punisher first made his Marvel Comics debut in 1974 in The Amazing Spider-Man No. 129. The character was initially conceived as Marvel's answer to 70s vigilante thrillers like Walking Tall and Death Wish, and One Last Kill harks back to those classics, especially the latter. The special's plot of a grieving family man being pushed to his breaking point in a cartoonishly crime-ridden New York is basically Death Wish with the Punisher. Death Wish stars Charles Bronson as a Manhattan architect who takes the law into his own hands when his wife and daughter are brutalized by vicious gang members. It's easy to see how Paul Kersey became the template for the Frank Castle we know and love, and One Last Kill makes the parallel clearer than ever. One Last Kill harks back to the classic 70s vigilante movies that inspired the Punisher in the first place. When it first arrived in 1974, Death Wish was a huge hit with audiences, because it struck a chord with viewers who were disillusioned with climbing crime rates, police corruption, and government inefficiency. But it was controversial among critics, who felt that it manipulated the audience's attitude toward street justice with an exaggerated portrayal of street crime and gang violence. The movie's depiction of a lawless city filled with sadistic killers tricked viewers into getting on board with Paul's vigilante crusade. One Last Kill does the same thing. In the special's opening moments, an elderly veteran is savagely assaulted by a sinister band of thugs, who then toss his adorable little dog in front of a speeding truck. After watching that brazen act of barbarity, it's not hard to get behind Frank throwing a knife into that thug's leg and putting a bullet in his head. In the case of Death Wish, this manipulative depiction of violence was sneaky and underhanded. But in One Last Kill, it serves a deeper thematic purpose. The title One Last Kill is, of course, ironic, because Frank kills dozens upon dozens of people in the special. But it refers more to Frank's addiction to killing, like when an alcoholic has one last drink or a smoker has one last cigarette. Frank can't tamp down his rage, he can't ignore the injustice around him, and he can't help seeking his own brand of justice. I've seen people misinterpret the ending of the Punisher's latest adventure. Some viewers have interpreted it as a love letter to violence. Frank's trauma was caused by violence, and at the end of this story, it's fixed by violence. But I don't think that's what the ending is saying. Frank resuming his career as the Punisher isn't a triumphant comeback, it's Frank grimly accepting that this is his purpose in life, and no matter how hard he tries, he can't escape it. One Last Kill is a rebirth for the Punisher. Bernthal as the Punisher is one of the best ever comic book castings, along with Robert Downey, Jr. as Tony Stark, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and Wesley Snipes as Blade. The Punisher was previously played by Dolph Lundgren in a 1989 movie, Thomas Jane in a 2004 movie, and Ray Stevenson in the 2008 film Punisher, Warzone. Out of those three, Stevenson came the closest to a comic-accurate Punisher, but none of them quite perfected the character like Bernthal did. When Bernthal made his Punisher debut in Daredevil Season 2 a decade ago, he blew them all out of the water. Bernthal sells the brutality and the underlying vulnerability with equal authenticity, which none of the previous actors ever got quite right. This version of the Punisher has had a rocky road over the years, weathering cancellations and corporate mergers, but with One Last Kill, he's finally back on track. This special is a rebirth for the character, introducing him to new audiences who aren't familiar with the character but also reinvigorating his story for longtime fans. It's sort of a second origin story, a little like what Brand New Day is doing with Spider-Man. In both cases, the character's superhero alter egos are well established, but they're at a crossroads in their personal lives, and have to look within to find a way forward. Going into their latest adventures, the Punisher has retired from being the Punisher, and Spider-Man has been forgotten by the world and abandoned by his loved ones. In both cases, they're put in a situation where they have to do some soul-searching, find more strength than they've ever mustered, and reinvent themselves for a new chapter in their superhero career. After One Last Kill, Marvel has to do The Punisher Season 3. In terms of its grit and its thematic depth and the power of Bernthal's performance, One Last Kill is everything I wanted from his Punisher's return. The only downside is that I want more of it. This 50-minute special is a great start, but I'm still hoping Disney will give Netflix's cancelled Punisher series the Born Again treatment and bring it back for a proper third season. One Last Kill felt like a really exciting Season 3 premiere. It sets up a brand new chapter in the Punisher's story, bringing him from an early retirement and a series of disturbing hallucinations to a blood-drenched return to vigilante justice, stronger and angrier and more ruthless than ever. That final scene of Frank donning the skull once again, going out into the streets of New York, and punishing every criminal he sees is a reset for the character, like Spidey's return to web-slinging superheroism at the end of No Way Home. One Last Kill is a new beginning for the character, and it seems like this Punisher revival is just getting started. But right now, it's just a one-off. Please, Marvel, I'm begging you, make the Punisher Season 3.